Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I please bother you just for a moment? There is a lady who left her folder. Okay, well, never mind, thank you.
I found it, thanks.
Right, good afternoon, or good evening, in fact. It's the end of a long day. I know some of you are probably feeling tired. It won't be as exciting as the tabletop exercise sounded like it was. But the opportunity now for the next hour or so is for you to reflect on what you've learnt today about the on-site inspection regime, and take the opportunity to ask any questions that you may have of the experts up here on the podium. And just to refresh your memories, earlier today there were presentations on OSI techniques and equipment, development of the OSI verification regime, the operational manual and standard operating procedures, and of course training and human resources aspects of an OSI. So if you wish to jog your memory with those subject areas, and we will open the floor for questions. The floor is open.
Hi, my name is Carlos from the US. When you went through the integrated field exercise in Jordan in 2014, did you face some of the point of entry obstacles or procedures that were laid out in the tabletop exercise? And how did that scenario work in that case?
Well, I'll answer the first question. That tabletop exercise was taken from the IFE scenario. And to answer your question more specifically, I'll hand over to Gregor, who was the inspection team leader for IFE 14.
Yes, thanks for reminding me on IFE 14, which certainly was a good experience, not only in bringing the OSI capability development forward, but also personally to get an idea of really what it meant to be part of an inspection team that is more or less welcome and is expected to do factual work on the ground. The scenario was obviously not shared with us beforehand, and the first surprise clearly came when we set foot on the ground of the inspected state party, and there were lengthy discussions to convince the inspected state party of accepting the mandate. That was the first point, because of some issues related to the proper completion of forms, which obviously had been prepared beforehand from the side of the exercise management on the details of the inspectors. So, and this list was incomplete or not factually correct, and therefore the inspected state party made a case of not being in a position from a legal perspective to accept this. And that showed from the very beginning that the inspection would as much be around the proper application of a systematic process to develop the search logic and to apply the inspection techniques, because that's what it's all about. But it certainly is equally important to establish a cooperative environment with the inspected state party. So it's all about negotiation in a cooperative spirit. And I think the point of entry activities certainly set the scene for this. And I thought at that time that it was a challenging scenario, a challenging situation that we were put in. but probably realistic. So in that sense, I think it was a good exercise. Hope that answers your question.
Hello, my name is Ana Avila. I'm from the Permanent Mission of Costa Rica. I have to say that this exercise today was very eye-opening for me, and I have more of a comment than a question. A very strong recommendation to include negotiation and legal training to the surrogate inspectors, because I think that if the team is very knowledgeable, but also have the right skills in the negotiation process, it will make it easier. I don't think that Costa Rican technical experts on, I don't know, radionuclides are particularly good at negotiating or at being aware of the rights of the team there's in this treaty. So I think that this is something extremely important and that I was absolutely unaware of until now. And having said that, I also have a recommendation to the PTS. I think that this exercise, this very short couple of hours exercise, and what we will do tomorrow, is extremely useful for diplomats who are based here. And perhaps it would be possible to do 1 or 2 days activity that diplomats who arrive in Vienna can take. I think that this 2-week event is very interesting, but not all of us always have the time to attend a 2-week event. But I think it would be very useful for diplomats who are covering CTBT to understand how these needs will be present, and in the process of negotiations of the preparation, this might be useful to support the Secretariat to properly prepare the surrogates and to really understand some of the activities of the on-site inspection. So that was just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Pura Vida. With regards to your question about negotiation training, I mentioned earlier that the surrogate inspector training is in 3 major blocks: introductory, advanced, and then the soft skills and leadership. Negotiations training is embedded in every single block. So when they were in their introductory block, they had introductory negotiations training conducted by former ambassadors. In the advanced block, they are going to again have advanced negotiations training. And when we go into the leadership and soft skills block, once we have identified the potential team leaders from this surrogate inspector training group, they will be pulled offline for another specific training for negotiation. So yes, we are very aware that our surrogate inspector candidates came here on technical merits, not on their negotiating skills. We would rather get somebody, well, that has to be your starting point. It has to be good technically. For programs for diplomats in this area that you've went through this afternoon, we actually had a series in the past of introductory courses on OSI specifically for diplomats from the permanent missions. That has segued into something bigger now. Instead of just providing this course to diplomats here in Vienna, we have now gone outside to every regional group, and we conduct every 2 years regional introductory courses. That this whole tabletop exercise is just one tiny bit of that 8-day program. And the last course that we conducted was a month ago for the Latin America and Caribbean region in Buenos Aires, in Argentina. And we will continue to do that every 2 years. And the next one in line will be the Southeast Asia and Pacific region in 2020.
Just to follow up, that's great, and it's wonderful that you're doing that kind of activities. But I think it's a more local thing. The diplomats who are here covering these issues need to better understand some things. And perhaps bigger countries with more resources have the capability to make sure that diplomats really understand these things before they come here. But coming from a small country, when I get here, I know basically that CTBTO exists. So this kind of things really would help a diplomat here to better understand these processes. And there is absolutely no way to tell that my colleague who is in Costa Rica at the time that there is a training will eventually come here. So it's more of a matter of helping those who are actually here dealing with these matters. And that's why I'm talking about a smaller course, 1 day, 2 days, something more specific that can help those who are already here. Thank you.
It's very untrue that Costa Ricans do not have negotiation skills. You're right, it might be time to open that course again that we used to do. I think when I arrived, I was informed that they put a stop to it because every year, every time they conducted this course for diplomats from permanent missions, it was the same people that kept coming over and over again. So I guess the turnover of staff from permanent missions wasn't that high back then. It may be now. So we will look into it and consider it. Thanks.
I'm sure our friends in external relations have taken note of your suggestion. The other point that's well made in terms of negotiating skills is it re-emphasises the importance of the selection of the inspection team leader or the head of mission. Is the focus on their technical skills? Is it their negotiating skills? Is it their knowledge of the treaty? Do they need a legal background? So yes, the role of the inspection team leader is an extremely varied and challenging one, and the selection of that person is getting the right person can make a huge difference to an inspection.
Dauren Aben from Kazakhstan. I have a question regarding are there any formal requirements to the national composition of the team? I mean, well, probably there should not be a person from the inspection requesting country, but are there any other requirements to ensure the wide geographic, I don't know, representation or anything like that?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and I'm sure Gustavo may have some comments to make as well. Obviously, they have to be drawn from the approved list of inspectors. That's the first thing. It is, certainly under other verification regimes, and I think it's the same for this one, is that when countries nominate inspectors to be put on this list, it is possible for other countries to challenge that nomination and for that person to be rejected. In terms of whether, obviously, someone from the inspected state party is not going to be an inspector. And generally speaking, there is a desire to have wide geographical representation amongst the inspectors in a team. But I'll leave it to you to add anything else.
Yeah, thank you for your question. I think the only thing that I can add is a national from the requesting state party can not be part of the inspection team either. But a part of these two, the inspection team can cover any nationality.
It looks like today was so successful that in fact you have had all your knowledge gaps filled and that you don't have any questions further to ask, but I'll give you one last opportunity.
Hello. I was just wondering, since the last drill was in Jordan, if there's an idea of A, where the next one will be, and B, how it'll differ or what you want to improve on from the last one.
Thank you for your question. Well, as I mentioned this morning, now we are going to a series of build-up exercises that was not yet decided the location of those exercises. The first one, which will cover the launch phase of an inspection, will be conducted here in Vienna, and the field exercises covering the inspection phase and the post-inspection phase will be conducted somewhere. It was mentioned by the working group B that it will be desirable to have those field exercises close to Vienna in order to make them more efficient and budgetary concerns. As for the next integrated field exercise, this is a decision that should be made by the policy-making organs, and they need to discuss that, whether there is a need for that or not, and when. This morning I presented a table that was hardly seen in the screen, summarizing the differences between the IFE 14 and the expected techniques to be covered during the next series of build-up exercises. And in summary, I can say that we will test the majority of the 17 techniques in paragraph 69 of the protocol. I hope it answered your question.
Just one final comment. The next integrated field exercise is on the agenda for the next Working Group B meeting in August. So they are beginning that process of thinking this issue through. Any more for any more? It's like an auction. Going. Sold. I'll hand you back to Master of Ceremonies. Thank you for your attention today. We hope you enjoyed particularly the exercise and that you learned a lot. Thank you.
Let's give again another thanks to the entire team from the OSI division for giving up all of their time, not just today, but in many days and weeks leading up to our symposium OSI Day. I know some of them were working until late last night to ensure that you had a very good experience, and I think that you all did. So in addition to everyone here on the panel, also show your appreciation, please, for everyone who was involved earlier in giving presentations and in acting as moderators. I don't have the full list of everyone here, but I know some of them are still in the room. I think Mizrak Fiseha, for example, who has certainly been doing an awful lot to prepare for today, is here in the back of the room. And also many other people from Julius Kozma to Andy Collinson to Gregor is here. So well, everyone else who's on the panel. So thanks once again. We very much appreciate all of the work that you do to make this symposium a success, and not just because it means that we can just hang around and watch you for the entire day, although that's also very welcome. And I think one great benefit of doing the TTE today is that it's got all of our participants fired up and ready to use the treaties and to use this kind of documentation in the simulation exercise that we're going to start tomorrow and the next day. So what we're doing now is we're distributing the OSI request that's going to be the subject of our simulation in the next couple of days. I think I might hand over to my colleague Nikita to say a few words about it, but just a word of warning. Tomorrow morning, starting at 10 o'clock, this is no longer the symposium. This is a meeting of the Executive Council. You are the countries that you are representing, and we will not be breaking off the simulation at any point. It will be a real Executive Council, and you will be the member states. Thanks.
So you're receiving the on-site inspection request. You'll see all the information there, the basis on which the inspection is requested by Equilibria in the Atlantis. In Atlantis, the party sought to be inspected. Familiarize yourself with it. Make sure that you have a treaty tomorrow with you, the text, rules of procedure, You have all other documents, the country background and everything, so hopefully you got in touch with online participants, you had time to meet all your team members from the given country. You can already start consultations, talking about your position, trying to convince the country, so please start today. We'll start at 10 tomorrow, but again, we will be here earlier than that. The rooms are available for you, so if you would like to conduct any consultations among your regional groupings with bilateral discussions, maybe you would want to ask Equilibria why they're requesting on-site inspection. Maybe you want to ask Atlantis, not sure where they are, whether they really conducted a nuclear test explosion or not. Oh yeah, there is a representative of Atlantis here. So you can do that. Do you have any questions? Does everyone know their country? Everyone met their team members?
Yeah, I don't see my team member, Venezuela.
Okay, well, maybe not all countries there, but I'll come to you. I'll talk to you. Okay? Well, with this, then have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow, the first session of the Executive Council.